means to restore. What had happened to it? It had been destroyed. Now it's beginning to restore to me to build it back like it was. Now it's not going to be like what Solomon had, but it's going to be built back. God wanted to restore his temple. Now after he let them out of exile, this is when some of the problem began to go. Everything is going smooth, just like it should be. But then Giacomo Satan to and fro. Always going to stick his head in God's business. Have you noticed that? Even in your life, when things are going good, look who steps in your life. Satan. Satan always steps in. All my bills are paid, I got $1 left. That's what happened. Oh, Satan come in some kind of way. Take that, because I was going to get us to the church. I was going to give it to the church. But Satan decided that he going to fix it, so he going to get that. Every time you decide to do right, what it say? Evil. And who is evil? Satan. He's always. Satan looking all the time. Just like God, Satan's out there looking, waiting on you. If you look at this lesson, we begin with this lesson, restore, decree. And that decree, say it's a proclamation, means this is law. If the law say, again, you got 55 and you got 56, you have just broken the law. Because the law said what? 55. And back then they said this was a decree, this was a proclamation. That means if it said you got 56 and they said cut your head off 56, what were they going to do? Cut your head off, because they meant what they said. When they said a proclamation, it cannot be changed. That's what it was. So what we see here now is a proclamation, this decree, so the proclamation. Now as we begin to look at this thing here, the first thing we see here, we see this king. We look at it. Now when you look and talk about what's going on about this king here, King Cyrus had already gave him permission to leave and build his church, or his temple again. And what happened now is going to begin to make a little change in what he said there. He gave them permission to do it. They getting ready to do it. They on their way to do it. But here we come. All right, reader, what do we have? Verse 1 and 2.
Then Darius the king made a decree, and search was made in the house of the Rose, where the treasures were laid up in Babylon. And there was found at Shemitah, in the palace that is in the province of the Medes, a roll, and therein was a record thus written.
Yeah. You got permission from the king to go and build this temple. But here we go with somebody coming in and that Satan, and when you read about it, hey, stop it. Wait a minute. Stop it right here. Why do you want them to stop it? Well, you want them to stop it because you want to let me get in there and help build that thing. Now, who is talking there? This is old Satan. What part of Satan is talking about? The Samaritan. Do you know that's how the Samaritan come about? Because you had the Jews and the Gentiles mixed, and what did they come up with? The Samaritan. Now, when did that happen? When they was in Babylon, all those 70 years. You know how we are. When we get around people, we said, don't do that. Remember when you go back in the 60s, when what happened? They tell you, don't marry that white lady. But what did we do anyhow? We sneaked and married them. I said, but that's what some of us did. You know, we did that. So what they said right here, those same people right there, they did that. That's why they come up with Samaritan. Now, what happened here? The old Samaritan got mad. They said, okay, king, since you won't let us be a part of this building, I tell you what, they began to think that we're going to find a way to stop you. Now, he already said, Cyrus had already told them, go ahead and build. Now, here come old Satan going to tell you, we're going to find a way because you wouldn't let us build. Why you wouldn't let us build? Because you was a Samaritan. And Samaritan said they worship God and they worship their pagan God. But what this boy said, I don't want you to build nothing. I want you to build nothing. I want the people that really Jews, I want them to build a temple. And that's what it says by King Darius. What they said, okay, since you can't do that, I want you to find that decree that says that King Cyrus, now this is 20 years later, look at that. King Cyrus said, go ahead and build it. You got to find it. So what happened? She just said, now why was the decree located? It was located in me. Now when you read that, the next one, reader, what does it tell us about the location of the place?
In the first year of Cyrus the king, the same Cyrus the king made a decree concerning the house of God at Jerusalem. Let the house be builded the place where they offer sacrifices, and let the foundation thereof be strongly laid. The height thereof 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof 60 cubits.
Now, she just told us that when she said a promise of me, this was a location, they said, that why they kept all their records stored. So what you want to do now, you want to go and find those records there. Now, when you find the records, this is what it said there about the house. Let the house be built. Now, King Cyrus had already told them to build his house. And what happened here? They got mad, we just said, and they're going to try to put a stumbling block in the way. He told them how to build. And not only that, he said, this is how I want you to build it. This is the side. Now, when you look here and read about what it says there, you find two different things. Solomon had a 2-story. So what they're going to do, they're going to build it a 3-story there. So they're getting a little high, but it's not as beautiful as the one Solomon had. But it's going to be the same thing. That's going to be a little better than Solomon done. Now, he telling them he don't want this to happen. Them old Samaritan folks, with nobody to say them way. I don't want you to build this thing here. Because if you build this, king, when you go back and read again, it said, king, if you build this thing, them same old peoples that you know God destroyed, you know what's going to happen? They're going to take over your kingdom. So what do the king begin to think, king? Wait a minute. I heard about that. And I believe them folks going to do that. I think they would do that. So what am I going to do? I'm going to stop it. Why should I stop it? Because what you told me make a lot of sense. Because I know what they did before. So if they did that before, you know they're going to do it again. So he stopped it right there. And after stopping it, something else happened there. We're going to read about what else happened after he stopped them from building this project. And tell them why they built a project and gave them everything to it. Then he stopped them building. And Rita, what did he tell us about number 4?
With 3 rows of great stones and a row of new timber, and let the expenses be given out of the king's house.
Now that's the problem right there. This is how I want you to build it. Now I don't want you to build it, but I want you to get the money from who? Get the money from the king. Now, wait a minute. You telling me that I'm going to give you some money to build this temple? Yes, that's what I'm telling you. So here comes the problem. It was going good till you talking about giving up money. What brings in one out bigger problem? Money. What confused people and bring in trouble? Money. Everything goes well until you mention what? Money. I can be your best friend, but don't never put in the word money. What you talking about? Loan me. Huh? I'm your best friend, but you just said what? Loan me. And that's when that enemy come in. You know, everything goes well. Look what happened right now. Those people, it was all right. Until he said, I want you to pay for it. That's in the decree. And I'm going to tax you. So here's the problem. You taking my taxes that I'm collecting to pay for a temple that I don't even want. Yes. So here's the problem. We got to find a way to stop that. And that's what they did. So I want you to go back and find that in writing. Because they knew if it was in writing, it could not be changed. Think about it. Oh, Daniel. Yeah, Daniel. Here we talking about Daniel. When Daniel's in that line there, how did he get there? What happened because Daniel get in that line there? I hear talking. He prayed 3 times a day. He went by down to the king. So what did they say? Daniel had became president here. My point is that Daniel had became president. The 3rd president. So they didn't like what Daniel was because he was over them. So they had to find a way to get rid of Daniel. And what did they do? They went to the king and told the king, King, you are this beautiful king. I want you to make this beautiful statue of yourself. And what happened, King? I want everybody, King, what you all do, let everybody come and pray to you 3 times a day, King. Let them worship you. But what did they do? They knew Daniel was not going to do it. So what happened there? It got in the king's mind. King said, since I'm the king, you know, that's a good idea to make a statue of James Butler. If everybody come down and worship on James Butler, think about that. Wouldn't that stick my chest out? So that stuck the king's chest out. But what happened right there, by sticking the king's chest out, old Daniel, he wasn't going to do it. And what did they know? They knew Daniel wasn't going to do it. So what they said, King, you put this in a decree. You put this in a proclamation that whatever you say here, it cannot be changed. So when it happened, he did. So when Daniel did it, and the king didn't like it because the king and Daniel was friends, so that proclamation can be changed. So as Daniel worshiped, what happened there? When he worshiped that, they got it. And they threw him in the Nile. What was the reason? Because of that proclamation he made. Right here it says, when that king did that proclamation, when Cyrus, he made the proclamation that go get them folks everything they need and nothing could be changed. They know that wasn't the law. See, back then, when they said law was law, what did that mean? Just what it said. Law was law. There was no in-between there. You know, we got a lot of in-between in our laws now. We get away with a lot of things. But there wasn't no in-between there. If they said you need to be hung, if you do wrong, what happened? You go out there and look at your neck hanging out there. Because they did exactly what the law said. But here we are here, we kind of change things around. You know, we got to look in between. But this proclamation, he said, find that proclamation. If the king said, I believe that's what's going to happen. Read it. What it tells about number 5.
And also let the golden and silver vessels of the house of God, which Nebuchadnezzar took forth out of the temple which is at Jerusalem, and brought unto Babylon, be restored, and brought again unto the temple which is at Jerusalem, everyone to his place, and place them in the house of God.
Everything that Nebuchadnezzar took from them, all the gold and silver vessels, King Cyrus said, do what with them? Give them back. Remember last week said, when you take it, give it back. Everything that was took from the temple before it was destroyed, give it back to him. And here's a king here. You got all that gold and silver. Last week you said, now you got to give it all back. So what's going in my mind right now? Here I am sitting good, looking all at that gold and silver, make myself look good, my wife looking good, you know. Back then, the wife looking good. And now we got to give it all back because why? It was in the proclamation that you give it all back. And Nebuchadnezzar had taken it because they had destroyed the temple. The reason we said they destroyed the temple because they what? They disobeyed God, so that was the temple destroyed. Now you got to give it back and place it back like it was. Look at that word where I said be restored. That means you got to bring it all back. And you think about yourself. You living good, you got all this stuff, but you want to give all that back? Be for real. No, you won't give it back because that make you feel what? Big time. You got everything you need. And now, King Cyrus said you got to give it back. Restore it back to him. And read what number 6 tells us about that. Now, here's a good one.
Now therefore Tatnai, governor beyond the river, Shethar-Boznai, and your companions, the Aphasachites, which are beyond the river, be ye far from thence.
Now, look what happened. These are governors. But what you think about these governors here? Now, when you think about those governors, they were located on one side of the river. I'm on this side of the river. You build a temple on this side of the river, but I don't want you to build a temple. Why I don't want you to build a temple? Because if you build a temple there, go back to one thing, you got to take my taxes. So what it goes back to? Money. I don't want you to build that temple. So what they do say, since I don't want you to build that temple, what I'm going to do, I'm going to find a reason for you not to build that temple. And what was the reason we said earlier? That if they build that temple, they're going to take over again. They're not going to listen to you, king. They got their own king to listen to. So it's best for you not to build that temple. So what were they trying to do? Stop to build a temple, discourage it. And the king, you know, being the king, I'm the big man, and I hear some stuff like that. What happened? My mind is wondering, you know, you probably right about that. That's what they would do. So I'm going to stop that. But the only way for me not to stop it, you go back and find it. And that's what the next one says. Find it. And if you find it, something that's going to happen there. Says, I know that's what they're going to do to me. Now, he don't know that. This is no governor. These were governors on one side of the river, and they were on the other side. But this king, he made that decree. So they had to obey it. And what it said, really, that next one tells us what?
Let the work of this house of God alone. Let the governor of the Jews and the elders of the Jews build this house of God in his place.
What did he tell them? Don't mess with them. Leave them alone. Why should I leave them alone? Because it's in the paper. We said it's the word. It's a proclamation. It's a decree. How do you know that? They just found it. Why was the decree found there? The decree was found in that building where they kept all the records. And what was that? that was signed by King Cyrus. When it was signed, it was documented, and they found it. They said they went through all the rubbish, and they found what he said. Now, who did that? God. They had destroyed it. So who kept that with him? God, because what him? God had put in who heart? Cyprus heart. So he put in his heart to build it. God had already kept them roughly protected for them, and he already knew what they were going to do. They're going to go there and try to do this to stop God's work, and they did it. They stopped the work. It says for 20 years they stopped the work. But then, that's when King Darius. He brought him up. God raised him up, and that's what happened. He said, what? Go ahead and build this temple. Isn't that something God can do? He brought another king up to go ahead and build that temple. They had destroyed it. They weren't going to accept it. But when they found that relic, and God told them, through him, get it and go ahead and rebuild what you do. If God in the plan, no man can stop what God already got in the plan. Everything that we read about is already within God's plan. God already knew that. He just put somebody in the place to deliver his word. Now, if God can take an old pagan man and do that, what can he do with you? To be a Christian person. Can he work on you to make you do what he want to do? Because if he can take that heathen person and do his word, he can do the same thing to you. And this is what happened right here. He let them build it. After they found it, he said, do not. I like the way he said, stop. They have tried, and they did try to stop him. Them same old people that come up with it, them old Samaritan folks, they came up with that idea that they were going to stop. Why were they going to stop? Because they wasn't no part of it. Have you know people try to stop you, but they're no part of you? And who the one that stopped you? We said the other night, sometimes you say it's your enemy, it's not your enemy. Who is close to you? Your friend. These are people, your family. These are the people here. So what happened here? These are Samaritan folks. They were the mixed race of people. So what they would do, they were going to stop it because they had no power of it. He wouldn't allow them. Kings of Rubberbear, he wouldn't allow them to do that because he knew they weren't free. They worship God and they worship Satan. What do we worship? Think about us. What do we worship? We do the same thing. We come to church, we worship God. Then we go outside, we worship our house. We worship our car. We worship our church. So what are you doing? What's the difference between what you're doing and what they did? None. You're doing the same thing. But what we do, we look down on those people. But we need to look at ourselves and say, you know, I'm doing that same thing. I need to change. I need to obey God more. I need to put nobody first but who? God. Nothing else first in your life. No matter how it is, you always put God first. But what do? We put our money, we put our car, we put our house, our church, and we put God on the back one. When do you need God? But when do we need God? When do you want God? But when do you really need God? No. You want God when you're in trouble. That's when you need God. You know everything going right. Who's on the back one? But who let everything go right in your life? God. But we don't see it like that yet. What do we see? I need God when I want to need God. But God is not a want to need God. God is at what? All the time, God. You need him every day of your life. Because God gave you what? Life. So just like he gave it, he can do all what? Take it away from you. So that's what you got to remember, that part right there. What it said right there. And he made that decree that let it go. And then, anybody else have something to say? Wow. All right. Well, here's a question to get you involved. It says, could this warning to leave the Jews alone as they did the work that God called them to do be viewed as a wonderful modern believers who criticize or object to the work to which other Christians have committed themselves? Why not? Could we learn something from them Jews right there, how people do us? Let's say, Deacon Lyman said, when they was building this church, I met some of the main women were trying to stop the building of the church. Why would they want to stop that, we say? Because of the jealousy. Some of the same one that smile in your face are the same one that doing what behind your back? Stabbing you in the back. They going to somebody and said, don't let them build that church there. Somebody, they went to somebody. And that somebody went to that somebody and said the same thing. Don't let them build that church. That's the same thing about you, in your house. You want to build a nice house in the place, somebody will go somebody else and tell them, I want that house built there. Why? Jealous. And you ought to be thankful for they're getting the house there. But we don't see life like that. We see more of a jealousy thing than anything else. As a Christian, what should we do as a Christian? Support. I like the way. Be glad somebody's doing it. To me, myself, whatever somebody do, I'm proud of it. Because I'm glad to see us move up. Because one thing about it, I don't have to pay bills. Now, don't that make sense? So if you build it, why should I be jealous of that? That's up to you to do that then. That's the way I see life. I always see life like that. Whether it's my children or my friends, anybody doing something, I'm glad for them. Because they don't want to have to be. When we get to that point then we'll be better. It says, can we criticize or look at believers, the mortal believers? Who are the mortal believers? That's us. It says, who criticize or object to the work to which other Christians have committed. You notice how we are getting so self-centered. If somebody's been a lying church over here, what's the thing we say? Who are the first somebody going to criticize? The Christian folks. We are the first somebody going to criticize. Not only will we criticize, I want to go there and compare that church to our church. Look around. We got this. They don't have this. We got 30 rows people. They got 15. What are we doing there? We criticize instead of what? Boosting those people up. You got a nice sanctuary. But we don't go for that kind of way. We go to see what's wrong with it. I see people come here looking all around. Do you see that? They all look around all the time. Why? You ought to be fine and fall. You ought to be praised what goes on. But we don't live in that kind of way. We say, who are we? We got Christians. And what does that word mean? Christ like. So that means I need to follow what? Christ. And follow Christ will leave that jealousy out of it. And then, anybody else got something to say? Well, here we go. The second one says, a resounding decree. What is he talking about, a resounding decree? What is that? Say it loud. I want everybody to know what we're doing. A resounding decree. I want you to listen because this is what has been said, and it's been said, and this is what you're going to do because it's been said. I want you to resound that decree. Let everybody know who is everybody. All the old governors on the west side, on the east side, trying to kick against it. I want them to know this is already made. This is already laid down. This is the foundation, and you're going to follow it. Why? Because it's in the book, and it's written down in the book. And when it's written down in that book, nothing will change. So here we go, Rita. What does it tell us about that?
Moreover, I make a decree what ye shall do to the elders of these Jews for the building of this house of God, that of the king's goods, even of the tribute beyond the river, forthwith expenses be given unto these men, that they be not hindered.
That's what he said. Oh, I meant that. This is what it's going to be. How you know? Because he already written this down, and this is how it's going to be, and nothing's going to change it. He said, I'll make this decree, and you're going to do exactly what it says. Now, what the problem came in there, that they didn't want to do what it says. Before he made the decree, I want you to find it, which they did, and this is the word that's already written down, and this is what you're going to do. Isn't that something you can tell somebody, this is what I say, and this is what you're going to do? How many folks can tell you, look, boy, I said sit down. I meant to what? Sit down. But what happened now? You tell them sit down, they jump up. Have you noticed that? But what we said, this is that new generation. Some things should be new. When I say set, I meant for you to do what? Sit down. If I say shut your mouth up, what does that mean? Shut your mouth up. But what happened now? You say one word and they give you two. And what do? You just smile at that. That's that new generation. There are some things I believe in tradition, and there are other things tradition doesn't have its way. All right. Mm-hmm.
And I tried to get the right kind of line. One, it's so real that another because of working on the master.
All right.
And one is so real, he had started Christ, he started, bring the job of being arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
She said, Mom, she said, can you talk about something? So like I said, I'm a mess, you have to get it. And so he told my other son, I ain't get it. So then I tried to get it, and so now FaceTime Sarah. I don't like FaceTime calling. So I had to be mom experience. I said, oh yeah, good luck. When I found a guy, I said, I'm still sure you feel amazed. I said, now, cause you in South Korea. I said, I got in touch with the headquarters with Jesus. I said, I can get there. I said, don't let me come over there and put my foot up in your tail all about you doing the wrong thing. I'm still mom. I said, what you saying? See, you have to raise them the right way. You respect your children. They can't do that. And I like what you're saying.
Yes.
Because I ran a tight ship. You finish from Delta State, he said, I can't stay there because I want to go out and smoke some dope and drink. And I said, not up with enough for the 10 street, I was going to let me give you $40. Go. That was in your bag. You can't do that up in here. But parents now, they just doing any and everything. That's it.
I like that because that's where it's going to be. In our house, we raised 6 children. They got grown. But the thing about that, when they get grown, they know that 12 o'clock, you do not come in my house. How y'all, you don't come in my house? Because I go out and lock the gate. And who had the key? We did. And they all, our granddaughter, the last one left, she knew that. At 12 o'clock, I don't care where she was, at 12 o'clock, if you don't be in that gate, you're not coming to my house. Because whose house is that? That's our house. That's my room. I'm not going to say 12 or 1 come in. No. What time I say? O'clock. So this is what they tell us. When that decree, when you make a law to your children, when you tell them, boy, shut your mouth, I'm going to hit you in the mouth. Okay. Dad, and I said, shut up. What's going to happen? It don't take one time. Because Dad admit what he said. But what happens now? We say one thing and we do another because what we said. That's love. What love is that? My mother didn't have no love when it comes to me doing wrong. Miss Tracy?
My mom was like, this bag. She said, you're not in there, you don't get in there. And so me and my brother, sometimes my sister,
we meant what we said. I said what I meant, and I meant what I said. I didn't make no difference. If I said 12 o'clock, it was going to be 12 o'clock because the gate was locked. They didn't have a key. Besides,
I did the same thing. The children like that, said, you don't like it, go get your own house.
that's what I said. That's what you tell them. But what happened? We want to be their friend.
Yeah.
Oh, honey, you know he just late.
Yeah,
What's that? 12 o'clock? You're not coming to my house. These are grown folks. Even my children, when they get out, when they start dating and everything, they know to come in mom and dad's house at what time? 12 o'clock, or stay where you were to the next day, because you're not coming to them. I think we got off a little bit, but that's what this lesson about. Read them. Give us that next one. Number 9.
And that which they have need of, both young bullocks and rams and lambs, for the burnt offerings of the God of heaven, wheat, salt, wine, and oil, according to the appointment of the priests which are at Jerusalem, let it be given them day by day without fail.
Whatever they need, give it to them. Now, you know the old king didn't like that. I don't matter what it is, give it to them, because God had told me to tell you, give it to him. He put it in that King Cyprus heart, and he made it in decree. I like that word, decree, which is that law. He made it in law. You know, it's easy to say, well, I don't see no law of it. Well, when they found the law, there it is right there. So what you had to go by? The law. And what the law said, give them whatever they need. Not only that, he gave them a letter. When you approach this city right here, show them that letter. Isn't that good? Show them the letter. What does the law say? Give them what they need. And you have no say so. Miss Sykes?
You know what I would do? When let my daughter take something. 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, and he went out of there. I said, I told him, she know what that meant. Get out of it.
I guess besides we was a little different there because our daughters, they took custody, but they took it on at school. Because nobody came to the house. I was at the house. The only man in the house was 2 boys.
I went to sleep. I stayed home.
She stayed home. I was girl. That's where we raised them like that there. Not you're trying to prevent them from doing something wrong by having something that you don't need before you need it. You haven't got nothing solid, and here you go, you rock a little bit. Now, you're not going to do that in our house in high school. You're going on to high school, and after that, that's your business. But you know, you have to put some laws down and stay with that law. When you begin to break your own law, you might well not even have a law. That's what we look at things we done. All right, thank you, Ms. Sykes. Then when you look at that next one where it says there, give them whatever they need. Rita, go ahead and do us 11 and 12 together.
10.
10. Do 10.
10, 11, and 12, or just 10?
Let's do 10 and 11 together.
Okay. That they may offer sacrifices of sweet service unto the God of heaven, and pray for the life of the king and of his sons. Also, I have made a decree that whosoever shall alter this word, let timber be pulled down from his house, and being set up, let him be hanged thereon, and let his house be made a dunghill for this.
Look what he said right there. First thing he said, our sacrificial offering. Now, what that means? It says when they cooked, they felt that odor was going up to the Lord. And he would smell that bread. You know, anytime you read in the Leviticus, when they make the sacrifice, they always cooked it in that odor. They felt that the God was smelling that odor, that day God is awesome to them. So that's what they said right here. Give them that offer. And then what I like about it, he said that whoever, this is a good part, whoever go against what King Cyrus had, what he want them to do? He want them to hang him. Not only want to hang, he want them to take their house from him. And when he said hang him, I want everybody to see him. Hang him out there so everybody can see him. Why? Because they went against what King Cyrus had already made this decree. If I said it, it is what? Done. If I said 12 o'clock, it meant what? 12 o'clock. Not 12:01. See, that's what I'm saying. When they made a decree back there, they decree meant exactly what it said. There was no altar. Didn't he say that? Do not alter no kind of way. So that means you can't put a word in there. If I say give them ram, what does that mean? Give them the ram. If I say give them the bottle, what does that mean? Give it to them. Whatever I say do on this letter right here, you show it and you give it to them. Now, don't that make a lot of sense back there? Think about it. We had some of the same laws today. You think we have a better generation? That everybody stick to what it says and not alter the word of God. Look how we alter the word of God. What we said, well, you know, that just meant for us. The Old Testament let us know what happened to get to the what? New Testament. So we need to know the past in order to get to where we're going. That's what this tells us here. And then, Rita, what did that next one tell us?
And the God that had caused his name to dwell there destroy all kings and people that shall put to their hand to alter and to destroy this house of God which is at Jerusalem. I, Darius, have made a decree. Let it be done with speed.
Look what he said. If anybody get in their way, anybody, including the king, it's on this side of the river, the governor on that side of the river, if anybody get in their way, what he said to destroy them, because what? This is the decree. This is the law. And this law going to be followed by word. Don't put an and in there. What the Bible tell us? Don't add or don't take away from the scripture. That's what he said right here. Don't add to my word. Don't take away from my word. Because my word right here is, so my word is gold. This is the gold right here. What I said, let it stay right there. And here's the paper to prove that. Take this letter with you. Now, when they found that, they couldn't object. Because and this was the proclamation, and nothing you could do about it. So, you know, as I began to read over Ezra, that was pretty good about Ezra. Ezra had some stuff there, but he had still wasn't mentioned him. You talk about everybody except Ezra. And then, anybody got something to say? Right here's the final question. The question says, is it possible to utilize this kingdom resources for the building and expansion of the kingdom of God on earth? If so, how? If not, why not? Can we expand? How do we expand God's kingdom? Supposed to. How do we expand God's kingdom here on earth? Do we build more churches? By telling other folks. What am I going to tell other folks? How good God is. That's how you expand God's kingdom. By telling other folks how good God is, and you tell them what God has done for what? God has done for you. What are you doing there? You're expanding God's kingdom. You don't know who you're touching. That old person out there, you can be touching that person by telling them how good God is. That's how I said. You tell somebody how good God is. That's how you can expand God's kingdom. You don't have to build 100 different churches and have 10 members in the church. You know that's what we got. We got plenty of churches and we got few members. But we're still going to build a church. You don't need to do that. All you need to do is just tell how good God is in this church. And that means that word goes out to the next church. Don't go up and leave the preacher in this church and go build on the church. You know, people have done that. They stay here so long, they look at 10 members, come on, y'all, we're going to build our own church. Why? Because they don't want to hear what this preacher's saying. And you got people following, but they said, don't do that. What I want you to do is expand God's word. Now, I'm going to lead this way. How you like it? So here's what I'm going to lead with. Now, I told you in the beginning that this is National Women's Month. So since this is National Women's Month, and I went back and found the lady. I found the lady. And this lady here, she sung the song, my wife, she loves this woman. And she kind of imitates this woman, so she wanted to mock this woman. She came up. Now, I think this woman was Mahalia Jackson. She sung a song that it goes along with what happened back there. It goes along with what we're doing today. And it also goes along with what's happening tomorrow. And the song I'm about to sing, the song that she's about to sing, she'll tell you the whole way. And you know, this song here, this is a song that my mother used to do all the time. When she get a little weary and things got a little rough at night, and everybody sitting around and you know, she kind of moaning, and I could hear her come to the kitchen. And this is what she would say. Why would you tell me what my mother said?
All will be love. All will be.
That's what she said.
All will be love. All will be. Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah, Jesus,
that's what she said.
I want Jesus. Walk with me.
And this is the other part she said.
Well, don't leave me alone. No.
That's what they said.
Please don't leave me alone. Don't leave me alone. Don't leave me alone. Oh yeah, while I'm on this world, Jesus, I want Jesus to walk with me.
Get this up.
Well, hold my hand, Lord, please hold my hand. Oh yeah, hold my hand, Lord, hold my hand. Oh yeah, while I'm falling, Jesus, I want Jesus. Oh, my hand.
I used to see my old mother saying that. When things got tight, that's what she would do. She wanted the Lord to walk with her. You know, when they was on that Israel, that's what they wanted. They want the Lord to walk with them. Do you know God can walk with you?
Yeah.
But how do you know when God walk with you? When you live in the life that God asked you to do. He gonna what? He gonna walk with you. Not only do you walk with him, but he can walk with you. And I just had to bring it out. This was National Women's Month, so I thought I'd end that with a woman singing that song. Got next to my heart, so I'm gonna sit down for my heart fall down.